This video is just to show you the different types of yarn and the different types of needles that are out there and the ones that you might want to work with. So you can see I've picked 4 different thicknesses, if you will, of yarn to do different projects for. This is actually thread from like a sewing machine thread. You can actually use this to do crocheting for some very, very fine work. This is a thinner yarn. I know the neon kind of pops way too much here, but thinner than normal. This one is what I would consider normal. I know there are better words out there than the normal thickness of yarn. This one over here is a bulky yarn. Not super bulky, but bulky. Normal, thin, and microscopic. So depending on the type of yarn that you have and that you're going to be using for whatever project is going to dictate what needle that you want to use. Now, I know a good crochetist could never have too many needles, so I've brought just a bunch of different ones to show you. This is for a specific type of stitch that you keep stitching up along the needle, and it has this really long extension on it that'll catch all of the threads and stitches that you do. I don't like those very much. Here's a couple of needles here. This pack right here is like what they call an ergonomic needle. Here's the one that I took out of the case that I sometimes use. It fits your hand pretty well. It's not necessarily for everybody because your thumb goes in this little notch right there rather than a typical needle grab. But I've got a bunch of other needles that, again, are designed for doing different things. Now, this one right here is probably your good standby that everybody has. If you look close, every needle has a millimeter marking of how thick that it actually is. So this one says 5.0 millimeters. They're all in millimeter thicknesses. And that's about the size of the needle and the hook that you're going to see at the end of it. 5 is pretty standard. 5 is going to be what you use for your quote-unquote normal-sized thread right here. 5 or maybe 5.5 millimeter. This little metal dealy bob made of aluminum, these are all ones that you can get at any hobby store or my favorite, Amazon. And it is the base standard. It's just a simple needle, nothing special on it. This thin area that shows the millimeter ranking is actually where you would put your thumb and forefinger and use this to make your stitches. I don't necessarily like these. These are just kind of cold and, ungiving. The ergonomic one here that I showed you before is pretty cool. These are nice. These have rubber handles with an aluminum tip on it. And it shows you the thickness of each one right here on the handle. 5 millimeter. This one is 5.5. And these are some of my favorites here. This is a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook. And again, it's built so you can hold your needle with your thumb and your forefinger just like so. This is one of my favorites. It's got a nice design on the handle, which fits very well. And this is actually a removable tip. Here's my case for this guy. So you can take different needle thicknesses and put it on the needle handle that you happen to be using at that time, which is kind of nice. And here are some of the tiniest crochet needles I have ever seen in my life. This is a 1.7 millimeter needle. You can see it working there. Against my finger, you can see how relatively small that is. And this one is the smallest. This is a 0.5 millimeter or half a millimeter thickness needle. I don't know if you can even see that this is actually a crochet hook at the end of that needle right there. But again, this gives you a different idea of what is out there, what you can use. And like I said, you end up collecting a lot of these needles as you just kind of go along there. I went and I bought myself this case to keep all of my needles, and then I had so many that I had to buy more cases. So The end-all be-all standard, I would say, is your 5mm simple aluminum hook, just like so. And if you want to use one of the ones with the fancier handle, even they have the ability to light up like that, see? All fun. Just grab a needle that works right for you. Grab a couple of different thicknesses, and you'll have all of the needles that you need for any project that comes along.